Okay, so I'm going to ask you a series of questions and I'm going to write it down in my spiral just to get some more information. But the first thing I want to ask is kind of an overview of why you wanted to have the consultation. So, what's going on?
I have a student in my class that is always disruptive.
Okay, so always disruptive. And you said it's just one student in particular?
Well, yeah, he's the one that starts being disruptive first, and kids feed off of him.
Okay, so you feel like that one student's the reason why the class management for the other students
Yes.
is becoming an issue for you? Okay. All right, thank you for that. All right, so the next thing I want to get from you, it's what we call the ABCs of behavior. So just to give you an overview, the A would stand for an antecedent, B behavior, and C consequence. So I'm going to just get some information about each one of those so we can further understand what's going on. But for antecedent, that just means what's going on before the actual disruptiveness occurs.
Before he disrupts the class, he makes sure that the class is quiet and doing work, and then he always has to start the topic of conversation or blurt out something.
Okay, so what I was hearing from you, so this is happening during independent activity then, after
Yes.
you've given instruction?
Yes.
Okay. And about how long do you have them do independent work for?
It can range anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay, 5, 20, maybe 30, and then this is after you've given direct instruction?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what's happening before. So the actual behavior, you said he's talking to others. So is that what the disruption is? Talking to classmates?
Yes.
Is it just one person next to him? Because I know you have a class where it's the tables, or is it just somebody else across the room?
He'll just blurt out anything. It can be directly to somebody or just a thought, and then it starts the disruption of
So it
everybody
causes
else.
like then a conversation amongst other people?
Yes.
What kind of things do you say he blurts out? Something about his work?
Yeah,
or
it can
just
be
a
about the
random-
work, just like, why are we going to use this in life? Or it can be a song, or just pretty much anything.
Anything that comes to his mind
Yeah.
at that time. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to ask, as far as the ABCs goes, the consequence. So consequence doesn't always have to be a negative thing where it's a bad consequence. It can be something positive that's coming out of it. So what does the rest of the class do? I know you said then that sparks a conversation. Do they seem to be annoyed by the student, or do they feed into
It
that
all
conversation?
It really all depends on the day. So some days the class will be annoyed by it and they'll start telling him to be quiet or to shut his mouth, and then other days they'll get in on the conversation and then everybody's off task.
Okay. So they either get it onto him or feed into that. And so I know you said it depends kind of on the day. What kind of classroom dynamic is it? How many students are in the class?
There's about 11 in that class, and it's right after lunch.
Okay.
So the kids are a little wild.
What's kind of like the boy to girl ratio in that class?
There's 5 girls and 6 boys.
Okay, so kind of just an even balance.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you see him trying to get attention of the girls in the class, or talking to more boys in the class?
No, I
anyone?
think it's just anyone that'll get into a conversation with them.
And the last thing I want to ask, And what is typically your reaction? So I know that you said the students will either feed into it or ignore it or get onto him. How do you typically respond to it?
It'll all depend how the class responds to whether I ignore him too, or if it's something that I think disrespectful. If he says something, I'll just send him outside of the classroom until he can regain his composure and be respectful and come back into the class to try to get everybody back on task.
Okay. All right. So I think the next step would be to set up an observation. But I do want to thank you for your time.